Hey, look, it's that thing we all wanted. Yes, Legacy finally going to the Cybertron well, and as with most people, I am exceedingly happy, especially because they decided, hey, let's do an updated Cybertron Starscream. Because, like a lot of people, I love the Cybertron Starscream design. I've never, I missed out on the Unicron trilogy. I never watched the series. I never really initially was into the toys when they were out, because that was when I was on my collecting hiatus. But always really liked the design. Thought the original toy, specifically the Takara one that's like normal size and not enormous, was very cool, except for the very, very limited articulation in the arms. But it was really cool. Make Toys had, Galaxy Meteor, which was in theory a cool toy, but the transformation was a little bit annoying and fiddly, and also apparently that thing is prone to having its hips, I think, explode. Yeah. So, don't have Galaxy Meteor, don't have the Takara Galaxy Force Starscream, but now we have this. And this is much more readily available, and this is very cool, and it does things that, maybe not be as fun as the original toy, but in my mind are actually kind of better. Now, as you can see, he has a lot of the same stuff that you expect from Galaxy Force / Cybertron Starscream. He's got the tail wings sticking out the back. He's got the shoulder pods that have the blades on the sides. He's got his big gun. And this is okay. So this guy is basically Cybertron / Galaxy Force Starscream with more articulation, which that in itself is really awesome. But what they did with the accessories on this guy is actually more exciting to me than anything else, which I think is in a good way. I don't think the other stuff is bad. It's just I was actually genuinely shocked and impressed with how they handled the accessories. Also, before I forget to mention it, I do feel like they gave the same amount of design love to Starscream here as they did with Tarn in, what was it, last year or the year before? Whichever wave Legacy Tarn came out in, I feel like they gave the same amount of love and reverence to this figure, because this is a fantastic figure. Now, let me get these blades, they fold up. They're not spring-loaded. That is one disappointing thing with the accessories. They don't have the spring-loaded blades in the wings, but why would they? Because they haven't really done that for a while, so it's fine. But he does have his rifle thing. It doesn't have the launch a missile. Though I think, if I remember correctly, the Galaxy Force Starscream missile was a purple color, so I think it's kind of neat that this is the same color, or close to the same color. It's got little nubbins, so you can do the blast effect thing. And he even comes with a tiny Cyberplanet key. This is definitely smaller than a typical Cyberplanet key. I should have grabbed my Galaxy Convoy, or not Galaxy Convoy, it's just Cybertron Optimus Prime, but basically imagine that. That's about as different as the size is, but it's cool that he comes with it. And he does have the slot on the back, so you can gotta fold these out of the way a little bit, but you can plug this into the back, and it doesn't do a spring-loaded thing, but again, why would it? How could it? But, that's cool. The thing that I actually think is really neat about this, though, is there's this little slot on the back of the gun that is specifically designed for you to slot in the cyber key. So you can just store it on the gun, and I love that. That is fantastic. It gets it out of the way. You don't have to worry about it getting stuck on the back. The problem that I have with it being in the back is that I like to tuck these back wings in at a bit more of an angle rather than having them flared out like that. But in order for the cyber key to fit back there, you'd have to flare them out a bit. If nothing else, straight. But I just like tucking them in. So I like that I have an option for storing the key on the gun. That is very cool. But in addition to that, there are the wing pods, which are just pegged in. That's why they're not spring-loaded. I mean, I guess they could have had like spring-loaded buttons up here to have them spring out, but like then this wouldn't be a Voyager-priced figure. And when have they done spring-loaded stuff lately? But like they just plug in, just flip out the flip out the blades as you do. I do think it would be nice if these could like unpeg and become swords that are wielded in the hand. I've said that before, but they don't, and that's fine. But the thing that I think is really cool about these is because these peg in, and also when you get this guy, they're not pegged in the box. You have to, they're in the accessory pile, so you unsnip the ties and peg them in yourself. But what is really cool about this, and this is something I love doing, is flip out the blades and fold back the wings, and because they just peg in, you can peg them into his forearms, and like, this is not traditional. This is not traditional Cybertron Starscream, but like, that's really cool. That is really freaking cool. I love that this figure can do that. Like, he just looks like he's gonna ruin someone's day, and that's so neat. I love that he can do that, but you don't have to do that. If you want to keep blades in a more traditional place, you can just keep them pegged up there. But like for me, I really love the idea of giving him arm blades, so that's how I have those situated a lot of the time. It's really cool. I love how simple, like it's such a simple thing, but it really goes a long way. And it is great. And also for the gun, you can store it on the back. There are these little slots back here, and there's a little tab up here that you can just tab that in on either side, going either way, and it just stores the rifle back there and gets it out of the way. And I appreciate that. But we're gonna put all that down, tuck away the arm blades so we can actually talk about this toy proper, because I feel like I didn't really do that. The color separation here, the deco, everything I feel like is, if not perfect, it feels perfect. Like he's got the overall gray, but then he's got red accents in what I think are almost all the right places. He also has the dark blue for like the plastic in the arms, the thighs, but also down at the feet. He has all the detail going on in like the midsection here. It looks really, really good. I'm sure there are some things that could have been painted differently or painted at all that weren't, but for what's here, like this is really cool. And the detailing is great too. There's a lot of molded detail on this guy. If we zoom in, you can see like there is just a lot of greebling, and it looks great. It looks so cool. And it's all the way around. And much like with Legacy Tarn, how I said, like this guy seems to have gotten the same amount of love. Like you don't have any hollowness. Like the thighs, the biceps, the forearms, the backs of the legs, all that stuff, it all fills in. He's really nicely detailed, really nicely painted. It's really, really cool figure. And articulation is also top notch. We'll be looking at that in a minute. But as for the head, it is Cybertron Starscream's head. Looks traditionally Starscreamy, but a little bit more boxy. And he has some of this like silvery color now in a few places. Like I think the ball joint on mine is a little bit warped because it doesn't like turning this way that well, but you've got some silver and like little vents on the sides and up the top, and then of course the silver face with these like really hard to see, but these purple eyes, which looks really good. And I like that they gave him what looks to be a little bit of a Starscream scrap eating grin. That's really fun. And yeah, it looks great. Articulation wise, as I mentioned, it's actually quite good on this guy. It's the head is on a ball joint, but you're not going to get any side to side, but you can move up and down a bit, and of course can rotate all the way around. So you've got that. The shoulders, there's a lot going on in the shoulders, so they can go all the way around. I will say the forward-backward motion on my shoulders was a little loose out of the box. I had to tighten that up, but it's not a big deal. In addition to that, they can go out to about that far, so not much better than the original toy. But there's an entire assembly inside this shoulder piece that allows you to disconnect and hinge down this so that you can actually bring the arm out to a full 90 degrees. Like that is so good. And if depending on how you angle this, you can kind of move it in a little bit more. But like that's great. I love that they include, like, they didn't have to do that, and I'm glad they did. But like, it's this whole separate assembly in here, right inside here, this like double hinge assembly that allows it to get out of the way so that you can move those shoulders out more. It's just for the sake of the articulation. It has nothing to do with the transformation. So again, like, same amount of love as Tarn, and I'm totally here for that. You also get a butterfly joint, which doesn't serve any purpose in the transformation. And if you hinge this out of the way, you can butterfly out, butterfly in more. So you can butterfly the shoulder forward. Like, that's fantastic. I'm just going to pop this out so that's not in the way, but you get a bicep rotation. You get a double jointed elbow that can bend about that far at its best. You also do get wrist rotation, and unlike Galaxy Meteor, you can actually rotate the wrist a significant amount, even with that plate in the way. So there is that, and you get a little bit of, because of the way it transforms, you get a little bit of like in and out waggle. So really nice articulation on the arms. I was really pleasantly surprised when I saw like how this all comes together. It's very cool. Additionally, he has waist rotation. It doesn't go all the way around because of the way this comes down a little bit below the waist cut. And I feel like there's not necessarily a reason for it to come down that far, but I think the amount of twist you get is plenty. So there is that. If you really wanted to, you could disconnect the transformation joint, the clip for the transformation, to bring it in like this, and that could work as like maybe a partial fake, like faux ab crunch to a point. Like if you use it just a little bit, but the more you use it, the more it's going to separate things out there. The hips can go forward past 90 and back past 90, especially if you bring them out a little bit. They can go out that far if the arms don't get in the way. Get a thigh rotation. Again, no waffles in the thighs. The knees bend well past 90. If you move this panel out of the way, then they can bend even further. So now you've got this panel just kind of hanging out, but they can do it. And I mentioned this in Wheeljack's Origins Wheeljack's video, but like the knees kind of lock, which is weird. If you bring them up all the way, they kind of lock in place, and then you can untab them a little bit and they bend more. So like it kind of, if you're bending it, it stops here, then you can kind of bend it past that point where it's straight, and then you can kind of bend a little bit more. And it's just a strange way of doing it. I just don't understand why so many figures are doing that these days, but like it's not terrible. It's not like Studio Series War for Cybertron Megatron, where it just gets like weirdly restrictive. It's just an odd thing I'm noticing. And for the feet, you get ankle tilt, and there's actually some molded bits in the side there, so that if you tilt it not all the way, it actually gives the illusion of the ankle still being connected to the shin, which is really cool. And because of the way it transforms, if you untab the foot, you can bend it forward or bend it back. It takes a little bit of doing, but like, yeah, if you untab the transformation joint on the foot, you can get some forward and backward motion. So the posability on this Starscream is wild. Again, it's kind of like Tarn. They just kind of went all out, and I am here for that. I absolutely love it, and I also absolutely love the. I'm just going to do it because I love this so much, and I love that you can do this with the bladed shoulder pods. It's again not accurate. I get it. I understand, but it makes me happy, so I'm going to do it because it looks really freaking cool. So, yeah, there we've got Cybertron, Legacy Cybertron Starscream in robot mode. And for the heck of it, let's bring in the gun and just take that back into his back to have all this stuff on him. Yeah. He is very poseable. He looks really cool. He's got more, in my mind, play features than the original toy did, despite not having the spring-loaded thing, which it's, you know, it's a little disappointing that it's not there, but I'm not broken up about it, really. I think this makes up for it. This makes up for it for me, at least. Now, size-wise, he is roughly, I guess, regular Voyager height. Though proportionally, it's interesting. Like, you can see just how much smaller his head is compared to Grimlock there. But he is a Voyager figure, so he is Voyager height. I don't have Legacy Tarn anymore to do a size comparison with him, unfortunately, but I want to say they're probably about the same height. So there's all of those together. Because he is a Starscream, I got to roll out the other Starscreams too, so, or some of my other Starscreams. So there we've got the War for Cybertron Starscream, who is also a Voyager, and you can see that Cybertron Starscream is noticeably taller. Like, I want to say almost a head taller. Granted, Studio Series War for Cybertron Starscream is a little bit less lithe, a little bit more bulky, I guess, but like, I feel like there are more moving parts on this guy, despite them both being Voyagers, which is kind of weird. Not complaining, it's just weird. So there is that. And just because, let's bring in Reactivate Starscream, who is actually pretty tall for a Voyager, or is tall for a Voyager. And he does stand a little bit taller than Cybertron Starscream, but not that much taller. And yeah, there is how those two measure up. And of course, for one more thing, we've got to bring in our most important of size comparisons. There he is with the duck tank. Alright, let's get all of this stuff back in position. While we're doing that, if you like this video, or any of the other videos that I've done, and want to support the channel, I do have links to both Patreon and Ko-fi at the end of this video, as well as down in the description, so you can support things that way. Otherwise, there's also the typical YouTube thing. You could like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Just going to leave this off to the side. Now, with all that out of the way, let us transform Legacy Cybertron Starscream into his Tetra Jet-ish mode. Now, transformation on this guy is very, very, very much the original toy with some minor changes. What you want to do first is rotate these forward to get them out of the way. Bring the arms straight down and rotate the, actually no, before we rotate the biceps around, I want to open up the forearms and tuck the fists in. And this is, if you notice, the same as the Earthrise / Siege Seekers. Or I guess Siege Seekers? I can't remember if the Earthrise Seekers did it. I think they did. But yeah, I don't know, just something kind of funny about that. And also, it's still a Seeker, so it kind of works. But anyway, I want to rotate all that around. Now, actually, before we do any of that, we want to rotate these tail wings up and around. And I'm not going to bring them together just yet, but rotate those around. Now, the arms here, they untab from around here and shift back like that. And then we want to use the top joint for the elbow to bring this up, and what'll happen is this swings down and then this will peg into the outside of the forearm, like so. Same deal on this arm, just untab this and swing it up. Then swing this up on the upper elbow. Bring this down and tab it in. There we go. Now, you untab the back here. It actually tabs over the little plate that the head sits on to keep that from spinning, but you want to spin the head around and then peg this back into place in the front. Now, the somewhat scary part is unclipping this, but basically I find you kind of push on the butt and push on these little light gray pieces here, push back. It should unclip. Never like doing that. It's a little too clicky for my taste, but that's how you unclip it. And it's just there's this clip here, right here, that clicks in there. I haven't been noticing, like, it's nice and thick, so I haven't been, I don't think there's any, like, discoloration or anything on it, but I just don't like how solid that is. It's a little too solid for my taste. But you do that, flip that up, and while we're here, we're just going to rotate these back fins in and peg them together. Also, the back fins, they come separately in the box as well. They just peg in. So you can unpeg them if you want. If you want the back to be a little bit cleaner and you don't want these wings sticking off, you can do that. But those rotate in and tab together. Also just, very much like the original toy. The legs are also very much like the original toy. You want to, first you want to unpeg the feet, kind of straighten out those ankle tilts. You want to open up these panels at the backs of the calves, and just open them up all the way, get those out of the way. Now the feet can swing in, and they just kind of sit like that. And then this little piece here that acts as the inner heel swings in and kind of, not really tabs, but it does kind of tab into this little, there's like this little peg hole here, not here, this side. So the peg hole here as this swings in and just kind of goes into that little hole, and flip out the pointy toe tips as you would expect. And now to bring the leg up, actually I'm going to rotate the thighs so that the knees are pointed in. Then I find it's easiest to bend the knees and then rotate the hip up and kind of bend the knee in more. So this will come up like this, and then what'll happen is it's like a tab on here that'll peg into the inside of the kneecap. In addition to that, there's this little gap right in here that, like, this tab on the back of the foot will tab into, but doing that one foot at a time is a little bit tricky. So what I end up doing is getting both legs almost in position, then bringing the feet together first with these kind of up and out of the way. Bring the feet together first. Tip the nose cone together, and then you can just kind of push this back. And as you bring the legs in, that tab, the joint tab that the backs of the feet make, should go into that spot back there. And it's, there we go. It's a little bit tricky, a little bit more awkward than the original toy, but it works. Now with all that done, you can take these bits here and tab those into the knees. Hold all that together. And this came untabbed, so I'm just going to peg that back in. But yeah, there is all of that tabbed together. Almost done. And not sure how much of that was on camera, but there is all of this tabbed together back here. And rotate these pods forward again. And lastly, these flaps here come together in the middle and make kind of like a scoop thing in the front of the jet. And I'm not a big fan of these just because they don't tend to want to line up quite right together, at least not initially. You kind of have to play with them a little bit to get them to line up. As you can see, they're just kind of off center. I just like to be off center, and it's kind of irritating. But with all of that done, there we have Legacy Cybertron Starscream's Tetrajet mode, and this looks the part. It's not, you know, there are some things about it that I think aren't quite as well done as the original toy. In particular, the cockpit looks very small. I understand why, because, you know, like, in order to give him a waist swivel, that window is not going to be able to come down all the way, and they didn't want it to split for the waist swivel, but, like, the cockpit's a little small. The opposite problem of War for Cybertron, Studio Series War for Cybertron Starscream, but cockpit's a little small, and, like, the scoop at the bottom's a little bit weird, and the nose, I feel like, isn't as pointy, but it looks the part. It's a neat vehicle mode. I do like it. You don't really get any new colors or anything in this mode because it's all the same. Like, it's the same stuff. This is all stuff that we saw in the robot mode, which I actually do appreciate. And yeah, it's just it's Cybertron Starscream Tetrajet mode. I like the way, like, it comes together pretty well. A little bit awkward in places, but comes together pretty well. And, like, I just love how much articulation they gave the robot. That's so good. And I don't know what else to say. It's that mode. Now for the accessory storage, again, I really like what they did here, because you've got the the cyber key thing. You can plug it in back there. Actually show you there. It plugs in there, so you can do that. The gun, it can you can kind of sort of peg it in here if you want to do that, and that kind of works. But the way they handled this the storage for this, is actually, I really like this too. So one of the things you can do is you got to move the cyber key, because it doesn't really, at least I think you do. I don't think it fit before, but basically, I'll try leaving it in. But essentially, there are these two little tabs on the underside of the back wing section. There are these little slots, which are hard to see, but there are these little slots on the underside of the gun. And basically, you just push the gun through and tab it. Okay, it does fit with the cyber key, but you tab the gun in to those tabs there, and that stores the gun in the center, going through the tail wing, the tail fin, and like that's cool. I like that happens. It's not just like pegging the gun on top. It actually kind of integrates with the alt mode a little bit. That's really cool. And if you don't want to do that, you can actually open up these flaps here, and there are two similar tabs right here on the insides of what used to be the legs. And same deal, you just take the gun and peg it over those tabs, and then you can fold this back up around the gun. And that, again, kind of integrates the weapon into the vehicle mode. And now it's like tucked on the underside. It actually looks like it's built in almost. Like, that is some fantastic, that is S-grade weapon storage. I love that. And of course, if you want, you can manually flip out little sword things, and he can be like a stabby jet. So yeah, I love the weapons integrations with this figure. I love the modularity of the little pods for the wings. I do feel like no matter what I do, these kind of want to point in slightly, which isn't terrible, but there is that. Also, I'm just now noticing, I believe these pods also have, blast effect compatibility on the little wing pods. So you have that too. And if you wanted to, you could use blast effect port on the back to do like blast effects that way. It doesn't work on these bits. They don't have the pegs, but still, I like that you can have like a little jet thing coming out there. You can have him blasting from the front there. You can have them blasting from the wingtips. There's a lot of fun stuff to this figure that wasn't really expecting. I think you could even use these little side guns, kind of. They're not great. Not like as strong a connection as here, but like as you can see, it does peg on, so you can use those side guns too. So yeah, very cool. A little bit more challenging, just on a basic level than the original figure, but like there's also more going on with this. This is designed to, you know, have articulation and robot mode and stuff. But bring in our Voyager, our Tall Deluxe, Samus, and regular Deluxe. So there you can see how all of that measures up, and now let's get all these out of here again. Yoink. And bring Starscream and Burnout a little bit closer together. So there is how those two compare to each other. Oh, there we go. Yeah, he's a Voyager, so that's what you get. And speaking of, we bring in the other Voyager Starscreams, starting with Studio Series War for Cybertron Starscream, and you know, I feel like there's a clear winner between the two of them here. Though size-wise, they're not that different. Also, the cockpit on this one is gigantic compared to the cockpit on this one. It's super teeny tiny, which is kind of funny to me. Yep, there he is with the Studio Series War for Cybertron Starscream, and let's get him out of here and bring back Reactivate Starscream, who is a jet. And Reactivate Starscream actually spreads out a little bit more, so he looks bigger to a reasonable degree, but like he's kind of got a little bit more packed in here, so I think that's understandable. Yep, there is all of the Starscreams that we looked at before, and finally, for our most important of size comparisons, here is Legacy Cybertron Starscream with the duck tank. And that does it for Legacy Cybertron Starscream. This is an incredibly cool figure that, I mean, I can't... My feelings are a little bit complex in the sense that, like, I recently talked about Origins Wheeljack, and I don't think Origins Wheeljack is a better figure than this at all, objectively. Like, I like Origins Wheeljack more than a lot of people probably, but like, I'm not saying Origins Wheeljack is better. The thing is, it's not a surprise that Cybertron Starscream, that Legacy Cybertron Starscream is excellent. Like, it would have been a shock if he wasn't, because he looked great, and I mean, it was definitely a surprise that they went so over the top in a good way with this guy's, with his design. Like, physically, the way he's built, the way he's designed as a toy is just, I want to say, almost next level. So, like, that in itself, yes, a little bit of a surprise, but I don't think anyone was, like, thinking, oh, they're going to drop the ball on Cybertron Starscream. And they didn't. They did not drop the ball at all. He doesn't like he does exceed expectations. It's just that Origins Wheeljack for me exceeded my expectations so much more. This is like, oh yeah, that's really cool, and I think it's really clever that they did that, but like, partially because I went in with so little expectations with the Origins Wheeljack, but also because it's just really cleverly designed, and kind of like, the Origins Wheeljack impressed me the most. Again, not saying it's the better toy, just that Wheeljack impressed me more than Starscream, because this Starscream being amazing is not a surprise. Origins Wheeljack being incredibly good was a surprise. But again, like, there are definitely aspects to this Starscream that I was surprised by that I do think are incredibly cool. especially the whole, you know, unpeg the wing pods to give him arm blades. Like, that's fantastic. I love that. But yeah, this is a great figure, well worth getting. I'd say, like, even if you're not, like, you know, if you don't have the nostalgia for the Unicron trilogy, because I don't, it's just a really good looking Starscream that's a really cool figure. So yeah, get him if you can and have the means. Totally worth it. If they do Thundercracker, Skywarp, or both, absolutely get either one of those. Heck, I said it before with Studio Series War for Cybertron Starscream, but like if they did a Slipstream version, I would absolutely get it. I would definitely get a Slipstream of this figure. Like, this figure is good enough, I could almost see myself getting multiple versions of the mold. Kind of like how I've got all of the Studio Series Grimlock molds they've released so far, and I do intend to get the comic version too, if it ever becomes available. But anyway, I've ranted long enough. This figure is great, but that's all I have to say about it. So what do you think of Legacy Cybertron Universe Starscream? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and I do have, as of this recording, one more figure that is new, as of this recording at least. By the time it goes up, it'll probably be, you know, old hat. It's already, like, there's been tons of videos on it already, but I'm not gonna spend a bunch of time and money trying to one-up the people who steal toys or can afford to pay the markups from the command store. So, whatever. But point is, I've got one more new figure to look at. It's Studio Series Bumblebee Megatron. No surprise, it's this guy. We're going to be looking at him next. And I've got some complicated feelings about that one, but that is it for now. So see you then.